I'm going to show you how to turn a pound of ground beef into a spicy, shalloty Thai basil stir fry. It's a great weeknight, high protein, high volume meal that I make all the time, and the leftovers might be the best part. Okay, so quite possibly one of the most simple dishes you can make. These are literally all the ingredients. We're gonna make a sauce with fish sauce, some sweet Thai soy sauce, and some sriracha. I'll explain this a little bit later. 1 pound of ground beef, couple of shallots, Thai basil. But the very first thing we gotta do, I almost forgot, is to get some rice going. This quite literally will be done before we actually get the rice done in the rice cooker. So I'm using some jasmine rice, but any rice you want to use. And what I do for this is I put my rice in this container, and then I'm just going to fill up the water level to roughly the same area, maybe a little bit above. It's roughly a 1-to-1 ratio I'm going for. So I'm just kind of remembering that point. We're probably slightly above that line. And then I don't bother washing my rice. I've found it makes very little difference, especially in this particular rice cooker. But so we've got our rice set up. Let's do the sauce making and the chopping. So I'm just going to use literally this entire bunch of Thai basil. And Thai basil, different flavor profile than regular kind of Italian or Genovese basil. But honestly, I guarantee you this would taste good with that basil too. So if you have it, would not be afraid to use it at all. Because there are still some of very similar aroma compounds that you are getting in this. It is different, but it's also not so different that it would taste out of place. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a rough chop. And then I'm going to use 2 shallots. Any allium could be used here though. So we did the onion video a couple, maybe a month ago at this point, month or 2. Oh, I don't have no idea when this video is coming out. I don't know. But what we're doing, the onion video did come out, and I have been using shallots a lot more since making that video. For me, in a lot of cases, I feel like you get a lighter fragrance that's also kind of more intense, which I really like. And you could use garlic, you could use onion. Whatever allium you happen to have on hand is going to work perfectly fine. But just giving these a thin dice. And these 2 ingredients, the Thai basil and the shallot, are just going to give us a ton of kind of fresh aromatic flavor that pairs well with the sauce. Okay, so shallots, Thai basil. We're going to cook this ground beef in a second. You can use ground pork, whatever you want. The only other thing we're going to do is make a quick sauce. And I'm going to be balancing these 3 sauces to make it. So fish sauce, salty, kind of little fermenty umami too. Sriracha for your spice, also some acidity. and then black soy sauce, but black soy sauce from Thailand is very, very sweet. If you guys remember from the soy sauce video, this, like, you could legitimately use this in baking. It is really, really sweet. And then I'm gonna kind of eyeball this and give it a taste. So I'm gonna start with, call it 25 grams of fish sauce. I think I'll just start with even amounts. So we're gonna do 25 grams of each. And then you can see this is super thick. And it's because there's a lot of sugar in this. And if you taste it, again, it's very sweet. It is like, there's a little bit of soy sauce, but not much. But obviously you can adjust whatever ratios that you happen to like with this soy sauce. You could use more sriracha, less. If you want it sweeter, you could add more of the Thai black soy sauce. But for me, I definitely want it fairly spicy, which I think is coming through there. And then I like the funkiness of fish sauce. But that's literally all there is to it. So now we're gonna cook everything in the wok back here. The rice is probably gonna take much longer than the actual cooking. So let me put this stuff away and we'll guys meet you right here to actually cook this stir fry. Okay, so we've got all of our ingredients. I'm just gonna keep them right here. Then I'm gonna let this kind of preheat a little bit before I actually add the beef. So while we're doing that, let me open the ground beef. And actually, one thing I have growing in my garden right now is not Thai, well, I do have Thai basil growing, but I also have holy basil, which is kind of where this dish is inspired from. Holy basil, I think you can order at Thai. It's pad grapao, which I think is literally holy basil. This is Thai basil, slightly different. I might want to do a video testing how different is Thai basil from holy basil. People say it's a big difference, but I'd be curious to actually taste it and find out. So we'll probably cut that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm literally just waiting for this to preheat. Okay, so I may have filled some space. I may have not filled some space while this was preheating. I'm shooting for, yeah, this is at like 400, plenty hot, good to go. I'm gonna add a little drizzle of oil to this. And then I'm just gonna drop in the entire package of ground beef. Wash my hand, of course. Then we're gonna go ahead and salt this. We don't need a ton, but because the sauce and stuff is gonna be fairly salty as well. And then for me, instead of like a, I don't know, spatula or something, one of my favorite things to use for ground beef is this mini potato masher to just bash it up into little pieces. I lost some. And then really all I'm trying to do in here is let that fat from the beef start to melt down in there. Let it get up nice and brown, and then we'll go ahead and add our shallots. First, we'll add the Thai basil at the end. So kind of our order of operations here is, let's get the beef nice and seared, get it seasoned well. Then we'll go ahead and add the aromatics of the shallot. Then after the aromatics of the shallot, we'll add the sauce, get everything nice and cohesive. And lastly, toss in the fresh Thai basil, which will give us that really fresh aromatic punch. But really, as you can see, most of this dish is just waiting around. Like, if I had dishes to clean, I could clean them. I don't. This is literally the only thing. I guess I can wipe this down. So a lot of dishes like this are great to make because you're kind of just waiting around. I could be watching a show. Most times I feel like I would be watching a show. I could be catching up on dishes if I didn't start with a clean sink. But when you prep everything ahead of time like this, it really is just kind of waiting. Like, the rice is always going to take the longest here. Behind that is going to be the beef. And then once everything comes together, it comes together really quick. Okay, so at this point, the beef is starting to have cooked through. So I'm going to go ahead and just add all the shallots. We'll get those starting to cook down. And I will say, the smell of shallots frying in beef fat, again, if you go back to the onion video, did like a shallot chopped cheese in there, one of my all-time favorite smells. So like, we're starting with the same beef that I used for that chopped cheese. To make this into a chopped cheese, I would literally add just cheese. In this case, we're turning it into something Thai. We're doing that really through the addition of this stir fry sauce and that Thai basil, which kind of reminds us of, you know, the flavors of that region. But it really is interesting to me how just like a couple of changes in ingredients completely changes how we think about where a dish is from. Okay, now I'm going to come in with the sauce, and I'm going to do most of it, I think, to start. But you could always just kind of adjust as you see fit. I'll leave a little bit here. And at this point, very saucy. I'm going to kind of let that color develop a little bit by just letting it down on the heat. And letting the sugars in that sauce start to kind of caramelize and darken a little bit more.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, now, I kind of want this just a little bit darker in color, so I'm going to add a little bit more of this, of the black soy sauce. just because I don't know, I kind of just want it a little bit darker. It's more of a visual thing. And it will contrast nicer when we go ahead and add that Thai basil in there. And then as always, when you're making this type of stuff, I would recommend giving things a taste and seeing if you like where this is at, because you can always adjust as you kind of see fit. Yeah, for me, that's really good. A nice little hint of spice on the back end. So to finish this out, just turn off the heat, and then we'll stir in all of our Thai basil. And then all the aromatics in the basil are what gets going to mix with kind of the oil from the beef and really spread all that flavor around. And yeah, that's it. So super flavorful, super aromatic. We've got like the nice salty, sour, spicy mix in the sauce. And then we're literally just waiting on our rice, which hopefully is done pretty soon. So once that rice is done, we'll plate everything up, give this thing a taste test. Seriously, you gotta try this. One of my favorite like weeknight meals. So while we wait for the rice, I'm gonna clean up my very, very minimal dishes for this. So a couple of vegetable scraps. Gonna give this a rinse. This isn't really even dirty. I'm just gonna like kind of wipe the little pieces down to the bottom. And then everything else, I'll keep the spoon. Like, I'm just gonna toss this in the dishwasher. This might be the easiest sink cam in history. And our rice is very close to being done, but oh, look at that. Perfect timing for our rice. All right. Obviously, you could make the rice ahead of time. You could make this ahead of time. Very, very good leftovers, as I mentioned. Ooh. Actually, let me get rid of the cord. Get that out of the way. All right, steamed rice. And for me, like this is a great high volume meal where I feel like, I mean, it's kind of just like beef and rice, but so much more than that at the same time. So for me, I like to give myself like a big portion. Obviously, you could turn this into, I'd probably turn this into 3 servings, maybe 2 if I'm really hungry. So there it is. You guys saw how easy it was, and it's so good. Like it's, the fish sauce comes through, the sriracha comes through, the sweetness of that black soy sauce comes through. You pair it with the aromatics of Thai basil, shallot, beef, and rice. I mean, what's not to love?